But there is an element that I'm seeing working with women, especially in their 40s, where we're entering that perimenopausal waiting room where we feel we have to sit life out for the next decade while we go through menopause,
Right.
And you think, hang on a sec, it's coming for me. I can't outrun it. I can't chase it. It's coming.
Hey, Soul Sisters, welcome back to another episode of the Hey, Soul Sister podcast. And today's conversation is going to change the way you see your energy, your body, and the way you work.
Because if you've ever felt like your energy isn't consistent, like some days you're on fire and other days you can barely focus, and you've made that mean something about your discipline and your drive.
This episode is going to be a massive shift for you.
We're joined by the incredible Jo Fiddy, speaker, menopause mentor, and host of the Pressing Play podcast, who is on a mission to help women reclaim the narrative around midlife and truly press play on their lives.
After navigating menopause twice and spending nearly a decade coaching women through perimenopause, menopause, and major life transitions, Jo brings a perspective that so many women have been missing.
Because the truth is, the way we've been taught to work, lead, and build was never designed for women's bodies.
And in today's episode, we're diving into how your hormones may be impacting your business and life way more than you realize, why your energy isn't the problem, and how to finally start working with your body instead of against it.
So if you've been feeling frustrated, burnt out, or like you're constantly trying to get back on track,
this conversation is going to give you a whole new lens and a whole lot of permission. So let's get into it.
Hey, Jo, welcome to the Hey Soul Sister podcast. We're so
Hi.
excited.
Thank you.
You
so
could
much
not
for
have
having
come
me.
on at a better time, honestly, because I know many women listening right now are tuning in because they do not understand what is going on with their bodies right now. And so I think we're going to get into it. But before that, we want to ask you, how did this journey of yours come about where this need or this mission that you're on right now, and even leading up to the podcast, where did that start for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And thank you for having me. I'm just thrilled to be here. It's so awesome to be with you both. So for me, I first started working in London, working in the kind of the media PR world. And it started because something went off. I was in my early 30s and I just felt like something in my body, like it was glitching. And I didn't know why. And as the years went by, I felt myself feeling worse and worse. And I saw specialist after specialist. No one could help me until finally one person did. And they said to me, "You're in menopause." Now, this was in my early 30s, and nobody back then was talking about menopause. Like, I feel like back in those days on social media, it was avocado and a cappuccino or a flat white. We just photographed our food. We lived our little lives. I thought menopause happened to women maybe in their 80s. I had no idea. And that's what really kicked it off for me. I know. It was more the Golden Girl vibes, which we now know, I think they were in their 50s actually when that came out. So looking at that, so that really made me focus on, hang on, the power of hormones. We don't really understand our hormones until something we take it for granted, don't we? Until something happens. And from there, I went through this big pivot and I wanted to help other women through their health journey. And then I trained in becoming a menopause coaching specialist. And also I found what worked so well for me was tapping. And we can go into that further. And it was so fantastic because it works on all parts of your body. And it worked for me so well, especially with my anxiety. And that's where it started. So I started off in media, went through menopause, retrained not to help myself, but also for my clients. They were also going through that too. And then I'm now going through perimenopause again. I am a rare unicorn. I am like a postmenopausal woman in a perimenopausal body.
Damn, that's a story. I never heard of anyone going through menopause twice or perimenopause twice. Yeah, you're right. There's a stigma. We don't talk about it a lot. And now we're starting to. And it's starting to feel like more of a conversation that we're becoming more and more, or having more and more permission to talk about it. Versus before, it felt like something was wrong with us. And we were just lazy, or we weren't disciplined enough, or we're making excuses, or our relationships were suffering because we would want to blame it on that, but we
Mm.
couldn't because, we weren't allowed to.
So I'm gonna jump right in and I want to ask a question here because I think there's a lot of like we can go into hormones and of course hormones contribute to perimenopause and menopause, but I think the question that I want to ask is what are the signs of someone who may be going through perimenopause or menopause? And which of those signs are not so obvious?
Yeah, brilliant. I think one of the signs can really be you just feel off can be one. You don't feel like yourself. You can feel like you're not you. And if you're in a family dynamic or a work setting or running your business, you don't
Mhm.
feel like yourself, the person that should be in that role. Another symptom can be where it might be that your life just feels incredibly fast and you
Mm.
can't keep up. And it feels like your pace of life suddenly feels so fast and you're like, I can't keep up like I used to. And another one can be a lot of, it's described a lot. You can get anxious while driving in the dark. So you can feel more anxious about things. You might feel your eyes are itching, your itchy skin. These can be other symptoms that you can have. You might also find, because there's estrogen receptors in your mouth as well. So if you're having hormonal fluctuations, you might get more kind of like cold sores or your gums might be receding more in the dentist. I always say to all women, get your teeth checked. It's really important for dental
Mhm.
hygiene because there's all hormonal receptors in your mouth. And they're the ones that aren't so common, I would say.
Wow. Okay, so you know what? I'm thinking of all of our listeners who are tuning in to today's episode, and a lot of us women are building businesses,
Mm.
we're raising families, we're juggling a lot, and I think that there's a lot of times we are feeling as though we're just on this hamster wheel and we're just trying to keep up. And we're trying to avoid burnout. Some of us are going through burnout. Some of us are recovering from burnout. And so the gap that I see is that women are building businesses and leading lives from a place of a way we've been programmed by society to operate as though like we're robots, to operate as though we're not women. We don't have a cycle. We don't have a flow. We're not different from men, but we're almost set at the standard to operate as a man does, but biologically our bodies are so different. And I really want to speak to how can we best support our hormones? How can we best support our bodies as we're building businesses and leading these aligned lives?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And if we talk about, I'll do two things that you can do. First of all, if we're looking at your hormones in general, if you're, so we call that premenopausal. So that's before perimenopause. Okay. When you're having your very regular cycle.
Oh.
So there's different versions. There's premenopausal. Then you've got your perimenopause. And that's the one where they call it the hormone of chaos. Though I do feel we need to rebrand perimenopause and menopause. We'll get to that. And then there is also menopause, which is just one day in the year. And that's 1 year when you haven't had your period. And that I feel should be a party. Menopause parties. It's a ritual. It's just
Mhm.
incredible. So there's the different variations of menopause. So let's talk about if you are in menopause. Okay. You're having your cycles. Cycle syncing is fantastic. And I know that you talked about it and touched on this in your burnout episode. Use it to your power because how
Okay.
many times when you're ovulating, you know, and you're feeling great, how many times do you text everybody in your calendar and book in those meetings? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you might book those drinks in with the girls. You might want to I'm going to have that meeting now. But what happens is you then
Yeah.
do that. And if you don't time that correctly, that lovely oomph that you had, you might then be going into, through that kind of that stage where you might be menstruating at that point. You might be feeling a bit of PMS at that point. So use your cycle
Yeah.
as a superpower, as
Wow.
well energize it into your calendar. And so
Mm.
looking at, for instance, if it's like the menstrual, I talk about it as winter, spring, summer, and autumn to look at your cycle. So in winter, when you're menstruating, what's that really great for? You know, don't do those big lunches, regain your energy, do a bit of strategy, some journaling, just go behind the scenes. Don't be so much front facing if you can with your business. Then we're
Okay.
looking at kind of the spring, those follicle kind of days that we have. And when we're there, then you can estrogen's rising, your focus is sharper, start writing those presentations, start attending those meetings, use that energy as it comes in. And then ovulation time, bam, that's when you get on the podcast. That's when you get those guests in. That's when you show up for your business and be more front facing. So I think
Oh.
there's power in your cycle. First of all, if you're
Mm.
pre-menopausal, how does that sound? Does that sound like something that could land as well for you in your
Oh,
business?
Yeah.
100%, and
Yeah.
I've actually played with this. I've played with this over
Mm.
the years, nothing that I've stayed consistent with, but I've noticed this. I've noticed that, like, if I'm in my ovulation cycle, I am so, like, external facing, I am social as heck, I'm like, I wanna be visible on social media, I wanna book all the, like, the make all the plans. But then, like you said, when you're going into, like, the fall season, the winter season, right? Fall, I wanna sleep. Like, I just have no energy at all. And
Yeah.
then, of course, like, during, like, the menstruation cycle, I'm just like, I just wanna rest, I wanna eat a lot. I don't wanna really do a whole lot of
Chocolate.
anything. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for me, but I yeah, I that totally resonates, Joe.
Mm.
And when you describe it that way, it's like, damn, we're
Mhm.
really trying to be in that ovulation phase 24/7
Yeah.
around the clock every single month, and that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are the effects that happen to the body when we're working against the cycles?
Yeah, definitely. And that's such a fantastic question because let's talk about cortisol. Cortisol is so powerful, really, when it comes to women. There's a study that came out by Professor Diana Lard at the USF study, and she found that actually our ovaries are linked to our stress system in our
Oh.
bodies. It just landed in the Science magazine in October 2025, which just goes to show, and that's our parasympathetic nervous system. That's our our fight, flight. That stress even impacts our ovaries. That's a brand new study that came out in October. Not to mention, as you're going into perimenopause, it's like a seesaw. So imagine this, cortisol goes up,
Mhm,
estrogen goes down, and that can
mhm.
make your experience of perimenopause even more extreme. Not to mention, cortisol has such an impact on our body, in our brains, impacts our memory, impacts our thinking, all of this. So it's really working on your cortisol and getting that down to really support your system.
Can I ask something? Because I'm 46, and
Mm.
there's often times where I thought I'm going through my perimenopause, but I'm wondering, how do I know if I am? Because I haven't got the testing done. I haven't gone to a doctor, but there's moments where I'm feeling all of those symptoms.
Mm.
But I'm also thinking, like, am I going through premenopause? Is there a difference between the two feelings? Is there
Well,
more? Yeah.
the premenopause is before perimenopause, and that's when you're having your cycles. So if you have a regular
I
cycle
still
or
have
irregular,
cycles, but it feels like I'm still going through some, like, hot flashes, not often, 'kay? So that, for example, I'll have hot flashes every now and then. So it's not, like, consistent. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? So
yeah.
how does a woman know if she's going through perimenopause, or is there close to perimenopause
Yeah,
is what I'm asking.
there's 2 stages of perimenopause as well. There's the first stage of
Okay.
perimenopause and the second stage of perimenopause. And I think also to remember, and for everyone who's listening to this, every single perimenopause for every single woman is different. So
Okay.
everybody, just like your periods, just how your flow is, everything is different for every single person. And you
Mhm.
know your body better than anybody else. So if you do feel like there is something off, you don't
Mhm.
feel like yourself, you feel more anxious, you're feeling more low, you're feeling itchy, you're not sleeping, those
Yeah.
symptoms can be a marker. It's not just your cycle. So you might be having a regular cycle. And I think this is where there's a kind of disconnect. So if you do
Yeah.
sometimes, if a doctor isn't as trained in menopause, they can be, well, you're still having a regular cycle, but you can still be in perimenopause, especially the early
Right.
stages, and start noticing those hormonal shifts. Because also, thanks to the incredible work of Dr. Lisa Mosconi, who's a neuroscientist and is doing some incredible work on the female brain, she's discovered that actually the brain has a starring role in perimenopause. It's not just the ovaries. And actually, our brain is completely rewiring, and we're getting actually an upgraded, brand new brain, which
Mm.
explains the brain fog that we have, hot
Oh
flushes,
my
all of
god.
those things that we can have. So you might find if you feel it, there's something going on in your head, it's not in your head as well.
Okay,
Wow.
that's what I wanted to know because sometimes I think, "Oh, I'm just tired. Maybe it's in my head," right? But like you're
Mm.
describing the itchiness, hell yeah, I'm itchy and I'm not sleeping well. And yeah, and there's things that people say, and this is one thing that scares the shit out of me. And I think it might scare the shit out of a lot of women. It's putting on weight. putting on weight. And we talk about the symptoms of perimenopause. And like you said, not all women have the same symptoms. How much of that is genetic? And how much of that is like
Individual.
individual? Yeah, exactly.
Can also be lifestyle as well, can't it? And also with stress and cortisol, we also adds the weight in too. Let's just break that down. First of all, it's looking at your mother's menopause. So sometimes your menopause can also be very similar to your mother's menopause and when
Mhm.
she went into menopause. And when I say menopause, that's when she hasn't had a period for 1 year. So there's
Okay.
that you take on board. It can also be your lifestyle. So like drinking, smoking can also impact when you go into menopause as well. It
Mhm.
can just kind of be based on, yeah, like you say, just, in general, who you are, your lifestyle, and my brain thinks, I got brain fog as well today.
Girl, we're with you.
You just start chatting, it's like da, 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 da. It's gone. But yeah, as it, yeah, also like as a genetics, also your genetics as well. It can really
Right.
have an impact as well on when you go through menopause. And I think something that you just said that really, really, I feel it. I feel it so much when you said that you said that you're scared shitless. I think it's something that you said,
Mhm.
right? That you said you're just scared about the symptoms that are coming. And while I think, yes, it's absolutely incredible we're talking about perimenopause, it's fantastic. I can't say it even more. It's amazing. But there is an element that I'm seeing working with women, especially in their 40s, where we're entering that perimenopausal waiting room where we feel we have to sit life out for the next decade while we go through menopause, you know?
Right.
And you think, I hang on a sec, it's coming for me. You know, I can't outrun it. I can't chase it. It's coming. Now let's just look
Mhm.
at that. Let's look at the language that's being used to talk about perimenopause and menopause. If you feel like you're being chased, it's coming for me, there's no way around it. How are you going to feel? How's your system going
Mhm.
to feel? How's your
Yeah.
frequency going to feel? We're all going to be very, very
Mm.
heightened.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely very, very tight. And then also it's looking at another way of being in perimenopause and getting out of that waiting room. So one
Mhm.
aspect you talked about with the weight, yes, there is also a biological reason that we're gaining weight in perimenopause because as our ovaries, they go into retirement. They've done their work. They've done incredible
Mhm.
work, and our brain is rewiring. We start producing a different version of estrogen more in the adrenals. So we do pack that a little bit more on our belly area in particular. I know definitely I'm tying up my jeans a bit more than I used to. But there are things that you can do, and it's looking at strength training. It is looking at definitely strength training. There's a new way to be in menopause. So it's strength training. It's looking at nutrition. It's looking at your stress and it's looking at moving and supporting your mindset as well.
Now, is this something that only works before you go into perimenopause, before you go into menopause, or are these things like strength training, nutrition, mindset, are these things that you can apply even just now if you're now in perimenopause or if you're in menopause?
Oh, my loves, this is what we should be doing the entire time. If you think
Before.
about it, we should all be doing this. We should be loving ourselves too. Because what have we been doing back in the 90s and in the noughties, the 2000s? It was shrink ourselves. It wasn't it. It was imagine those magazines, when they used to circle the celebrities' bodies and point out everything that was wrong with
Yeah.
women and we had to shrink ourselves and our worth was based on what we looked like. And I think within that, we didn't focus on what is the sexy little black dress? It's muscle, maintaining your muscle, your bones, your mobility. So rather
Mhm.
than think how you are right now, think in the future. Where are you going to be when you're 60? What do you want to
Strength.
be doing? You're going to be
Mhm.
hiking? I want to be at Glastonbury. I want to be in a muddy festival, lifting my legs up in my wellies. Do you want to be carrying your travel bag? And it's all about strength, mobility. But I think we have been conditioned to believe that we should all be starting it now because we have been conditioned not to believe that about ourselves. So start it now. Love yourselves more. So get your bones strong, work on your muscles, take care of that beautiful brain of yours and nourish your body with food. Like the Mediterranean diet is fantastic. It's
Mhm.
so good for you.
Mm.
Focus on brain food like berries, beans, those lovely green veggies that
Mhm.
we love to
Mhm.
give out. And it's looking at food that nourishes you, as well as nourishing your soul as well.
Can you explain a little bit about why we should be strength training for for this? Like, because a lot of people are like, they hear these things. They're like, you should be strength training. But can you explain why?
Definitely. It's because we now know that as you age, and especially after menopause, your muscle and your bones decrease. So you can get like
Okay.
osteoporosis. You see a lot of women as they're older with osteoporosis or osteopenia. And actually, what you can do is in the past, it was presumed that getting older was feeling frail. But we now know that if you take care of your bones, you take care of your muscle, you can maintain your flexibility and you can maintain those muscles. I think the best way to describe it is how you reshape yourself now and how you look after yourself now reshapes your future.
Okay.
It's so important. And it's not always about how you look. So you might find that you are working out and you still have that belly is still there. And you're like, no, but it's thinking about longevity. It's thinking about the future. I would also say with the body confidence self on as well, send some love to that belly. Like that
Yeah.
belly has done such incredible things. Send some love and kindness to the belly and look at the bones and the muscles as well.
We judge ourselves way too often, and
Yeah,
I've caught
definitely.
myself doing this so many times, and I started lifting weights a few years ago. I've been doing it for years now, and I knew this, going ahead into it, and I was like, "I'm gonna go through perimenopause. I need to gear myself up," right? So I started to eat more protein and do more weight training. I found that before, when I was younger, it was all about losing weight and being skinny, no muscle on you. And so the idea of having muscle was very foreign to me. And when I started doing it, though, I felt so much stronger and my body shape actually changed, right? But it also gave me the energy I needed to move through the day, to get my work done, to focus on what I needed to focus on. And, it's easy to once you get there, it's hard to get there, but it's also easy to fall off that bandwagon,
Yeah.
you know? Like many of us go through that like journey and we're like, yes, we're making progress. And then something happens. Maybe it's the phase of menstruation where we're like, shoot, I don't feel like doing anything today. And then we go back off track.
Yeah,
So can you give us some ways that we can like give ourselves grace, but also create routines for ourselves that,
definitely.
yeah, that sustain that?
Yeah, of course. And it goes back to running your business like a man. And it goes back to training like a man. We don't need to train like men. So when we have those days when we're feeling, yeah, I want to get in the gym. And there's days when you know you can lift heavier, that's when it's like, yes, and you feel it. And you're like, yeah. And you feel fantastic. And there's other days, again, looking at the autumn, winter's a part of the cycle. Because in Perry, we're still going through the cycles as well. And it's, you want to put a hoodie on and you're like, absolutely do not want to go in the gym. Go for a walk, move your
Okay.
body. Walking is fantastic. Go for a walk, do some stretching, do something else that week. Do a little bit of something. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And also just be so kind to yourself during that time. And exercise as well. I talked about bones and muscles, but it's so great for your mood and it's so great for your brain to work out and to move as well. And when we do feel, and especially in perimenopause as well, and I loved it, Dr. Mindy Peltz talks about it in Age Like a Girl. Estrogen, she talks about having a bit of a girl gang, and when estrogen goes, she takes with her dopamine, serotonin, GABA. These are all your happy hormones. These are like the ones you want at the party, They're like, yeah, let's go. But what can happen is then you're feeling very flat. And one area that I really focus on with women as well is I call it menoplaying and pressing play. But one aspect of play is that actually play brings back dopamine, and play is such an important part of us as human beings. We find ourselves through play. It boosts creativity. It boosts ideas. We feel so much better when we play. It's so brilliant for the brain. So what you can do is bring play back into your life. And it was actually a book from Dr. Stuart Brown. He's from the Institute of Play. It's incredible. And he talks about 8 different ways to play. And like, what's your archetype? So you've got the Joker. So in perimenopause, or are you the one sending that meme at 3 a.m. that makes everybody laugh? Is that you? There's the storyteller. You're the one at dinner telling all the stories from back in the 90s that no one talks about anymore. Is that you bringing up these amazing stories? And if you're the storyteller, it's amazing for your memory and your hippocampus to keep that memory strong. So keep telling those stories. Some people play through movement. So are you the one, for instance, that would just suddenly book like that half marathon for no other reason that you want to, get moving, get your body going. You can also be the explorer. If you're the explorer, you love to play by finding things, by exploring. If you're feeling quite low right now and you're the explorer, go to that new restaurant, go check out that film, do something new. That newness will boost your dopamine and give you that oomph again because that's what we're missing. I think
Right.
women in midlife, we need to be playing more. There's just a couple more. There's the competitor. You love a goal and you love to win. There's the director. Are you the one organizing the girls' trip? Are you the one booking that retreat? If you are, you're the director and you love that communication and being together. There's the collector. You're the one who likes to keep the ticket stubs. You love to play through collecting things and memories and making books. And then finally, there's the artist. So you love, like, you might be designing your room, designing your friend's room. You play through your craft. So these are kind of 8 different ways that you can naturally bring back dopamine so you don't have to feel meh. And I think when you understand what's going on in your mind and your body, you can work with it. And that's
Oh,
superpower as women. And also
yeah.
we get to evolve. We get to discover ourselves again. And how incredible is that?
It's so incredible. I love those
So good.
8 examples too. Like that's amazing because I think we hear that sometimes, oh, just play, have fun.
Yeah.
And it's so true because I think that the more that we play, like think about when we were children. That's all we ever did. We played.
Yeah.
We would get lost in our imaginations. We get lost for hours, but we were the happiest and we were the most present.
Yeah.
And I think we've forgotten how to play because we're so caught up in the daily roles and the titles and the responsibilities. So I love that you gave us the 8 different archetypes of ways of playing, and you could probably be like one or more of those too, right? I could hear a couple, I could see myself in a couple of those. I love also that you gave some tangible ways that we can boost our dopamine
Mm.
because I think that you're right. Our dopamine drops based on what I'm hearing. When your estrogen drops, your dopamine drops with it.
Mm.
And so it's important to find ways to boost that dopamine. So my question would be, what else happens when our estrogen drops?
Yeah. And also there's estrogen receptors throughout our entire body. So we rely on, and they're like little pockets, like little locks that kind of go in with estrogen. So when estrogen goes up and down, it can really impact our body, our whole self, to be honest with you. We don't realize how powerful estrogen is, and, and progesterone as well. Progesterone is very calming. So you might find yourself feeling more anxious. With estrogen, as estrogen is going up and down like a roller coaster, she can impact. Let's just start with the brain. Talking about the brain fog. You might suddenly feel that you can't make decisions like you used to. Anxiety is a really big one. You might be finding that you are way more anxious than you'd ever been about stuff you never even thought about. It can affect your sleep. And there's also estrogen receptors in your hypothalamus. That's like your thermostat. So you might suddenly be feeling really hot in nighttime or sleep, and you're like, where did that come from? Also, there's also in your gut as well, and also how we process sugars, how we process food. You might find, for instance, that you used to I mean, I love an Indian curry. They're delicious. But I now find when I have a curry, I will flame up. And, I feel really hot. So your digestion also gets impacted. Also,
Yeah.
coffee, you might find with coffee, for instance, I used to love coffee. I used to drink it like it was water. Now it is not, my friend. It can make you feel more anxious. So even food and drink, how you are, your mood, really it affects so much of who we are as a person. And it can also definitely impact our mood as well. So you might be feeling more down. And if anyone's listening here right now and they are feeling down, I mean, they really think, I do feel they're not myself, please go and speak to your medical professional and your medical team. There is so much that they can help you with as well. I think it's just really important to know that you don't have to suffer. We're not living our mother or our grandmother's menopause. Modern science, while it's a little bit behind, it is really catching up as well. There's so much that can be done. So many wonderful gifts to perimenopause. One thing I love about perimenopause so much is I think it just brings us all back together again. I feel, we start off, don't we? Then we go off, and for some of those, we find, men or women, partners, our business, maybe children or not children. But there's this whole thing, and I feel what perimenopause does, it just brings us back together again. And we're like teenagers again, and we're all just kind of sharing stories and tips. And we're a bit confused and everything's changing. But there's also part of me that's like, I think we just buy like best friends forever necklaces and just give it to all our friends because we're all here together.
I love
We're
that.
perimenopause best friends.
Salt
Yeah,
sisters
we're all
and
in it
Perry.
together. We lose our train of thought. It's like, I've got you, babe. Don't worry. We've got this. We're all doing it. Surrounded by notes.
Yeah.
and little lost thoughts that we remember again at 3 in the morning. But that's
I'm
what makes
so
us us.
glad that we're talking about it because
Yeah.
we never used to. And I didn't know
Yeah.
what I thought, like you said, 80, I thought
Yeah.
that was the age people went through menopause. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm never gonna get there. When I do, I'll deal with it. I didn't understand it was a 10-year process.
I
Do you know
know.
what I mean? Like, did not understand that menopause was one day. To me, that's insane because I'm like, it's not the menopause that's the problem. It's the perimenopause that we need
Perimenopause,
to deal with.
perimenopause. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
also I have to say as well is for many of us, for most women, we're gonna spend 40% of our lives post-menopause. How
Yeah.
exciting. We have so much life in front of us.
I'm
This is
excited.
not the end. This is not like a death sentence, you know? I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the word perimenopause and menopause also needs a rebrand. If you know you're going into your pause and post years, how are you going to feel? You're going to be like, oh, when we talked about it, don't be like, oh my goodness, you know, it's like,
Mhm.
let's exit stage left. It's let's
Mhm.
move aside. You know, we live in a youth obsessed culture. Is it any surprise? In a patriarchal one, is it any surprise as women? We're like, oh, I just need to stop. No. And modern
Mhm.
science is showing that we are entering our power years. We are pivoting into our power years. These are not pause years. These are not post years. We're not going to spend the rest of our life going downhill. We are actually pivoting into our power years. Our brain is rewiring to make us go into our leadership roles, our leadership
Ooh.
Ooh,
Mhm.
roles. And there's studies on this. In other cultures,
that's
when
cool.
you went through
Yeah.
menopause, you were at the top of the tribe. Like you were at the top of the top. You were the
Mhm.
leader. And so, and also you look at the grandmother theory. I love the grandmother theory. The grandmother theory is that actually when, you know, we had the women who had the babies, they were taking care of women, you know, taking care of the babies. The men were going off to get a kill and they didn't always come back. You know, who was keeping everybody alive? The menopausal women. They were getting up at they're getting up at like 5 in the morning. They were walking miles. They were finding the food and they were taking care of the family. So I think, and I love the theory,
Yeah.
is that civilization is built on menopausal women. You know,
We're
Wow.
graduating is what you're saying.
yeah, we're graduating.
Graduating. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
these are not our post pause years.
This is so interesting because I don't know if you know much about numerology and whatnot, but in numerology, basically, like you get to take a look at like your life path and your like your life path number, your destiny
Yeah.
number, and then it goes into your like life pinnacles, and basically each pinnacle represents a chapter, a phase of your life. Every time that you get through, no matter what number you are. When you get to like the third or fourth pinnacle, which is basically like, I'm going to say 50 onward, there's a correlation where that stage of your life is where you're stepping into full leadership, your full wisdom, and you're becoming the teacher, the absolute, like it's like you're the most powerful expression of yourself, and everything you've gone through in the previous phases of your life is prepared you to step into that. So as you were talking that, Jo, that's what my mind, I'm thinking of that. And I'm like, we're so caught up trying to chase getting to that point right now in our 20s or some 20s. He's definitely 40s, but it's really cool because we're going through all of this, but it's really actually shaping us
Mhm.
for later in life. And I think that's such a huge reframe because a lot of women, I think, are, to your point, Sherry, are petrified. They're
Mhm.
terrified of getting old. They're terrified of getting grays, putting on the extra weight, and like everything's going to go downhill from
Right.
there and life
Mhm.
is over.
Like,
But
life's
really,
over. Yeah.
you're just
Wow.
getting started, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're just getting started.
Under 40 was a rehearsal. This is when we go, you know? And also,
Yeah.
remember back in your 20s and your 30s when we used to journal on the beach and you did yoga before? And we worked on our self love. We worked on our self care so much. And I
I
hear
mean,
this from my
in my early 20s, I was probably out on the bars all night, but
yeah, I should add some smoking to that
I
too, you
know. Who are we
know.
kidding?
But you know,
Maybe
you're
you were
journaling
doing
there.
yoga, Joe. We weren't.
Maybe not in my 20s. Maybe that was a bad example. I was definitely under a disco ball. But let's think about, I would say also like, so in in your 30s and you're like, I just learned to love myself.
Mhm.
God, I'm getting the hang of it. I'm learning about it. And then I hear this a lot with clients. They say, yeah, but I just learned to love myself and now my body's changing and now everything's changing. It's like, yes,
Yeah.
this is when you dial up that radio station of self-love and self-care. Everything you learn in your 30s,
Yeah.
everything that you were doing, that was the rehearsal for now. This is when you do it. Self-care,
Mhm.
self-love, it doesn't have an expiry date. And when do you need to apply it now? To the perimenopausal years, because we're
Yeah.
changing, we're going through stuff, and we need loads of love right now. And also in
Mhm.
perimenopause, what is perimenopause? Is puberty in reverse. So that teenage
Mhm.
you that needed a
Mhm.
little bit of love when her body changed back then or whatever she was going through, she needs that love now. This is the inner child work. This is the healing stage. I think perimenopause is a gift. I think it truly is. Yes, it's a renovation period. Yes, there's a lot we're going through right now, but what we're doing now is the work. This is the greatest pivot of our lives.
So good.
So
I
good.
like the reframe that you just gave because people do say, especially old school women, they'll be like, "Yeah, like it was horrible." They make you scared.
Mhm.
Or like,
Yeah.
"You should be scared." And I'm like, "No, man, none of that's gonna happen to me. I'm going to the gym, I'm gonna eat right, blah, 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 blah." But self-care becomes really hard, right? And I think it's relearning what self-care really means because as a 20-year-old, I was eating the junk. I was eating the hot dogs and the pizzas and not putting on an inch of fat, And then as I got older, I started to feel more sensitivity in my gut. What didn't work for me, what I can't eat now. Like, I don't enjoy certain foods anymore. I want it. And if I eat it, I pay for it, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like relearning your new body. And then also self care becomes a little bit more work when it comes to perimenopause. But then once you feel the effects of it and it's like, okay, this is good. I can find my rhythm. It becomes a lifestyle, which I found. But I want to talk about cortisol
Mm.
because cortisol is something that they talk about. But what is cortisol exactly, in your
Yeah.
opinion?
So we need cortisol, first of all. Cortisol is great. It wakes us up. We need it to wake up. That's why it's high. It's also fantastic. It's all linked to your amygdala, your ancient part of your brain. So if you, for instance, if you have children, you can suddenly have that power skill of putting your hand out before the car comes. You just have this instant reaction. It makes you react, makes you edgy, fight, flight, freeze. We needed that back in the cavewoman days. If we
Mm.
saw an animal coming towards us, the cortisol will kick in, the amygdala kicks in, off we go. We run. Hopefully we run or we freeze or we can fawn as well. But what can happen is in the modern day, your brain and that cortisol, it's like a cortisol, it presses the cortisol button. That can be an email from a client. That can be that fear that maybe you've posted something on Instagram and you regret it the next day. It can be something very like that on social media. It can be a letter that comes through, a bill you weren't expecting. It could be many things that your body will react the same way. And when cortisol, what can happen is
Oh.
you can be bathing in cortisol and not realize. So if I talk about bathing in cortisol, so the cortisol go up and up and up. And what can happen is it can affect your decision making. It can really impact kind of everything in your body. It's so detrimental to our well-being anyway. And it's finding a way we've got to pull that plug out and let the cortisol go back down again. That's how I got into the work that I do. So one of the tools that I use is tapping, is EFT tapping and rapid tapping to help you get that cortisol down so you can think straight, get your nervous system calm, you feel more grounded, you can focus, you can function. Also, when cortisol is high, you might be eating more, drinking more, finding a way to feel better in yourself. You're not sleeping. And then when you go in perimenopause with your cortisol, imagine that you are now having double shots. So
Right.
what I say to women is, how many shots of cortisol are you having every day?
Mm.
Because it's now double. Because as you're going through this renovation, your cortisol goes higher. And as I said before, when your cortisol goes higher, your estrogen goes down, which impacts your symptoms about
Ooh.
perimenopause. Again, if you feel like you're being hunted down by perimenopause, if you feel like the language being used, if you feel like you're going in your pause and post years, and if your symptoms, because there are women that are suffering, and I'll go into how to support that as well.
Yes.
But if you feel, even the symptoms can make you more stressed. And so cortisol has a real impact on your symptoms and as women as well.
Can you walk us through how
Mhm.
we can work through lowering our cortisol?
Yeah, definitely. A couple of things that you can do that are super easy. First of all, when you wake up in the morning, just have a look at the sun. Have a look
Mm.
outside. Do not reach for that phone. That phone also very interestingly, boost dopamine. So if you are lacking dopamine, it's interesting. There's no studies out there, but I'm interested to know if more women in perimenopause, we are on our phones more, that dopamine hit. So
Mhm.
if you can not go for your phone, look at the sun, look at nature. If you can go outside with your cup of tea or your coffee, if you can have coffee in the morning or your herbal drink, whatever you like to drink, and feel your feet on the ground. That can really, really help
Mm.
you
Ooh.
switch out your caffeine. I just said tea and coffee then, but for some of you, it might not be that you reach for coffee. Have food fast, eat breakfast fast. That could be a Greek yogurt with berries. Have your proteins first and then have your caffeinated drink. And that will help with your cortisol in the morning, which is naturally high. Walking is incredible. Go for a walk. That can really help. Cortisol loves to move. If you think fight, flight, freeze. So if, for instance, you had a meeting and you're like, oh, I feel awful, don't sit in it. Go for a walk around the
Okay.
block. It will really help with your cortisol within a couple of minutes. And then let's talk about tapping. I just love tapping. So
Mhm.
tapping is emotional freedom techniques. I'm also trained in rapid tapping, and the two versions. It's a bit like like Pilates or yoga. There's different variations, but they're created from the same thing. So with tapping, it's combining kind of that ancient Eastern medicine techniques with Western kind of psychology in the two. And what you're doing is you are tapping on acupressure points on your body while saying how you feel out loud. Now, if you think about it, when you are stressed, how many times do you rub your temples or rub the sides of your eyes or put your hand over your mouth or you put your hands over
Oh.
your head? These are all tapping movements. You're calming your body. And there's so many studies out there. I do highly recommend do go and check it out about tapping. There are all the studies that show that when you're tapping, you actually deactivate the amygdala. It disrupts it. So that cortisol influx decreases. And as you're tapping, I think it decreases cortisol by 24 or 42%. Brain fog here, but 42 or 24%. Now imagine the impact that will have on your hormones, knowing that you can do that. And not only what tapping can do, it gets your nervous system settled. The parasympathetic nerve, it gets you into a parasympathetic nervous state. It also helps with the neurons in your mind. So as well as doing affirmations, you're also kind of tapping in your affirmations as well. And with rapid tapping in particular, it boosts your frequency and your mood. So rapid tapping you use every day. It's a wellness tool and it's getting that vibe up, your frequency up. So when you are waking up feeling quite meh, quite down in those moments, I go for rapid tapping because I can then choose how I feel and I boost and I get my frequency up. And then EFT is fantastic for that inner teen work. So I use that with my inner teen work. So for instance, we're working with a client and there's some beliefs or limiting beliefs coming out. I use tapping because it's fast and it's embodied because all we
Mhm.
want to feel in life is safe, safe in ourselves, safe in our nervous system. And that's what tapping does. And that's how tapping can really help. I also I did a talk and I mapped out the work of Dr. Lisa Mosconi and the brain, mapped on menopause and also EFT. And I noticed that EFT and tapping works on the same areas of the brain that are impacted in perimenopause. So your memory, your prefrontal cortex, your amygdala and the alarm system. So your emotional limbic system are all impacted in perimenopause. And then tapping supports those areas of the brain, which I thought was
I
just
love it.
incredible. So I feel like, and that's why I use this with all my work with my women. I use this all the time on myself and all my women. It can help with your memory. It can help get your brain back online. So for me with rapid tapping and tapping is if I have a meeting, you tap through and you feel like you're getting your brain back online. You're feeling safe. You're feeling when your nervous system feels safe, you can do anything,
How
no
long do
matter
you
what
do the
mood you're
tapping
in.
for, Joe? Like, how long would you like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 1
Yeah.
minute?
When it comes to rapid tapping, I would say within a couple of minutes. You can
Okay.
do between 3 and 5 minutes just to boost your mood and boost your
Wow.
Any
frequency
time of day. Any time of
any
day.
time of day, especially
Mhm.
if you have a meeting or you're going on a podcast, whatever you need, because you want to feel, think as women in perimenopause, we want to look at what we can control. And this works
Mhm.
so well.
Mm.
And like I say, with EFT tapping is fantastic as well. There's some brilliant studies out there. It can help with your memory. It can really help with decision making, but also really work on the inner stuff, those real deep blocks and beliefs going on
I
behind the
agree.
scenes.
I've done it a few times and I've seen results in manifestation.
Yeah.
So it does work. I just haven't done it every day. But I think because I'm going through, I believe I am, I'm going to incorporate it every day because, yeah, this is just confirmation that like what you were saying, that it does affect the levels and everything. I think I'm going to be doing that every day. So thank you.
Mm. Yeah. Well, come over. I'll do some tapping on you. I'll do a little tap on
Oh,
you later.
yeah. Will you do tapping?
I think for me, I think I'm in a bit of a different space. Like for me, I think my cortisol levels are definitely through the roof. Perimenopause, I'm not sure if I'm going through it just yet, but the cortisol is definitely high. And that's something I've been working on trying to lower. And the thing is, I notice it. So I'm very in tune with my body. So how that shows up in my body is like inflammation. So a lot of like soreness, stiffness. And then also even in the gut, I'll notice
Yeah.
that my gut is impacted.
I want to talk about sleep because that affects
Yeah.
our focus when we want to do the things. We want to build businesses. We want to like get stuff off the ground. And Whitley and I were talking this on the podcast the other day and we were saying how we worked at 24 is not the same as how we're working right now because we're having to deal with all these hormonal fluctuations, getting up. You never know if you're going to get up exhausted tomorrow or if you're going to
Mhm.
have energy. So I know for me, if I don't get enough sleep, I am done.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm pushing. So sleep is like, I think a big factor in our energy levels, right? Like how it affects our energy. Do you have any tips of how we can, and I know getting off screens like before bed is probably one of them, but do you have any, tips on how we can get our bodies like adjusted to having better sleep and like not just one offs here and there, like, oh, we're having a good sleep today, but I don't know if I'm going to have a good sleep tomorrow. I kind of want to
Yeah.
know how to get a good night's sleep every night.
Every night,
Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
some of us are
Yeah.
getting a full 8 hours every night, some of us are getting a full, like, 10 hours every night too, and you can still wake up feeling exhausted and dry. I know for me, I get a lot of sleep. I get enough I'm in bed every night at, like, 9 p.m.,
Mhm.
and I'm out, and then I'm doing all the things to make sure that I can try to stay asleep throughout the night. But when I wake up in the morning, I'm not getting up as early as I used to,
Mhm.
and I'll still wake up feeling tired. So I think, like, to your point, Cher, it's like, how do you sustain a good sleeping ritual with all of the different fluctuations that we go
Yeah.
through?
Yeah, and also I'm waking up in the middle of the night a couple times. So that's
Oh,
also one thing.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry that you're waking up in the night. I would ask as well, do
Okay.
you find that this happens all the time, or is there certain times in your cycle when you are waking up, or do you feel like
Good
it's just random?
question. Ooh, I have not recorded that. So maybe I should.
Yeah, going back to tracking, there's various ways you can actually track your cycle, no matter whatever stage you're in. So
Mhm.
looking at tracking, so well as tracking, your period, which is what we do, but track your emotions and track how
Mm,
you're feeling and track what's going on. And so
okay.
become a little bit of a detective as well. So track when you're not sleeping. So it might be, again, there could be several reasons, and we'll go through a couple of them. So it might be that at that moment your progesterone is low. I know that I've got to say that I'm not an HRT expert, so please speak to
Yeah,
your medical team.
that's
But
okay.
for
Yeah.
women that aren't sleeping, they found that progesterone really helps. It really,
Mhm.
really helps to get that sleep. So speak to your medical team about progesterone. And then let's look at cortisol. How stressed are you? What are you doing before you go to bed? Are you doing, which many of us do that run our own business, we're actually working. So we're checking emails, or maybe we're creating content, or we're doing something that actually isn't playing, but actually we're doing work. Are you working before you go to sleep? That can have an impact on your quality of sleep. Are you hot? How are you feeling in the night? So even
Mhm.
opening your window and lowering the temperature in your room by 1 or 2 degrees can really help with your sleep. Really simple, I know.
Mm.
Think cavewoman days. They would be sleeping outside, on a slab of stone. But you might find that even just lowering that temperature can help. You might also find that that glass of wine that you used to love in the evening that would help can spike you a bit later. So that can maybe wake you up in the evening, whether it's 1 or 2. Again, that's something that really impacts us midlife women, drinking wine and how that can have an impact on ourselves, but that can impact sleep, also food as well. So you might find if you're a late eater with food, um,
Mhm.
eat earlier. Eat earlier, give your body more time to digest. Again, things that used to work for you before, these sound very simple, I know, might not be working for you now. So play around. And it might not be that you do it every time, but it might be based on your cycle. You might find there's certain times when you do wake up. Again, I would also look at tapping. So if you're feeling stressed when you wake up, so when you do wake up, how are you feeling? Are you waking
Mhm.
up feeling panicked? Are you worried? Are you looking at the clock? I was at a talk with a sleep expert actually that gave a really great piece of advice, and she said, "Don't look at the clock when you wake up." it will just stress you. It will just activate your cortisol
Ooh,
again and you'll feel
okay.
stressed. So don't look at the clock. If you can, lie down still. If you want to read a book, ideally just lie there, but see what works well for you. Another piece that I read recently is, fasting can be fantastic, but you might find if your cortisol is feeling high or if you're in a certain point of your cycle, you need some food before bed. So some Greek yogurt and some nuts to help stabilize your sugar. So you might be having a
Okay.
sugar spike and that might be waking you up. You might also find for some women that they need the toilet. Who are listening to this now, they might need the loo
Mhm.
before, in the middle of the night. They never used to. Again, our bladder changes in perimenopause,
Uh,
everything's impacted. So if you do, so normally if you have, again, it sounds very basic, but these can be the best things. Don't drink that massive glass of water before you go to bed. So look at timing it, spreading it out a little bit more and see if that helps. Also, magnesium is fantastic as well. That can help, and melatonin can be good too.
yes, I'd have both.
These
But
are
I
really
I
good,
don't think
Joe.
I take enough magnesium.
Always speak to your medical team if you for
Yes,
advice on
okay.
supplements.
Yes. That's great advice. Thank you.
It's such good advice. I'm learning lots today, and I've also think I'm in denial that I am possibly in perimenopause because it
No, you're
sounds like
not.
I'm very much in perimenopause. Okay, so I want to ask this. What do you think would change, Joe, if women built businesses around their energy instead of against it?
Oh, God, I think we'd change the world, wouldn't we? We really would. I think, imagine we'd be so in alignment to who we are as women. We would be in sync. We would grow from a place of, rather than feeling like we're pushing all the time or pulling all the time, there'd be just much more ease. And I don't think we'd be limited. We wouldn't have the burnout. We wouldn't have what
Mhm.
Dr. Libby Weaver calls the rushing women syndrome, where we're literally raving in cortisol, doing 100 things in one time. I think we'd be a lot more calmer and working with our natural rhythm and energy. We are rhythmic. We really are. We ebb and flow, and we have different energies at different times. And if we can just tap into that, that truly is our superpower.
I love
That's
that.
amazing. And you gave some really good tips for us to apply tomorrow and all our listeners. Number 1, you wanna get up and you wanna look at the sun. And you put your feet on the ground if you can. If there's no sun, just wait for it to come up.
Yeah.
Um, and then you've got eating well, like your breakfast and protein and working out with the weight training and lift as heavy as you can, right? Because that's something that we should be doing. And EFT tapping, that's a big bonus of, I think, today's conversation because I think it's something that now we're talking more and more about those modalities that we can actually do and they work because yeah, we've seen it over and over again, right? So thanks for telling us about that and also late night habits, what you should do before you go to bed.
Yeah.
And if you are unsure to go see your doctor, your medical professional, because they can do all the relevant tests and they can see where your levels are at and how your hormone, because everyone's body's different, right? And so, but these are really good tips for us to apply, I think, every single day as we move through building these businesses. But also, I loved how you said that this is just the beginning for us
Mhm.
and we're just getting ready. We're just starting. So it's not the end of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love what Eleanor Mills talks about in her book More to Come, that we're entering our Queen Ager era. And I love that. And I
Mm.
feel that we are in our Queen Ager era. She talks about
So
being forged in fire, and we are, all that resilience, all that
Yeah.
power that we learn, and now we're applying it now.
You have to give us all of the names of these books that you just mentioned
yeah.
because it seems like you know a lot of these books. Any final words for our women right now who are feeling they're going through they're feeling the struggle of it right now?
Yeah. I first of all want to send you so much love. And I think we really see, hear, and feel it. We understand it. We're all in this together as a community. We talked earlier about how perimenopause can bring us together. And please do not suffer in silence and suffer alone. I've been through menopause twice, and this first time felt devastating. I felt like I lost everything. And I slipped into a bit of a hole. And the second time I am playing it differently. There's different things that you can do, and don't pause. I would say find ways to press play. And for you, if you're suffering, pressing play can be on your boundaries, on nourishment, on your sleep, on saying no. And that is your version of pressing play. And if you're in your pause, if you're sitting in that perimenopausal waiting room, I invite you to press play and come out. Get that dream that's tucked up your sleeve and start living it. This is not the end. This is truly just the beginning.
Wow. That was a mic drop. That was
And
so
go
good.
listen to Jo's podcast, the Pressing Play podcast, where
Yes.
she talks all about it.
Yeah. Great segue.
Well, we want to thank you, Jo, for coming on. Yeah, this has been great.
Thank you for having me.
Want to say thank you to our soul sisters for tuning in this week. And if you have any, I'm just going to pause.
She got brain fog.
Sherry,
You want me to complete it?
Sherry, Jo, you guys end
All
it off
right.
for me.
Soul sister, if you are resonating with anything on this episode that Jo is talking about right now, you might want to go check out her podcast, but also leave in the comments what you're going through. Maybe you have symptoms that weren't mentioned here. Maybe you have some tips that work for you that maybe a lot of our women need to know about. And just stay connected and leave us a review and follow us for more next week. But we're so excited to share this information with all of you because we think that it's going to be a game changer. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.
Bye for now.